All right. What's happening?
What's up, my man? I think you need a little MGK at the start of that. We got to change the music up a little. I got my coffee.
We gotta change it up. We will. I've been wanting to tweak it a little bit, so it'll be all good. Okay, so hopefully we got some stable Cleveland internet today.
Yep, I'm feeling it, man.
Okay. Poor Andrea yesterday.
So that they're not drawn from the internet right now.
Oh man, what's good in the land?
Well, a lot of stuff. You know, it's the whole seasonality thing. Man, I love bucking that trend. So things are going good. Lead flow is really good. Agents are on a high. Just got off my listing impact zone meeting with the agents and that are on lead flow, and it's cooking, man. We're finally accountability's up there, the follow-ups up there, and we got some great stuff in the pipeline.
I love it. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Coffee and Coaching. This is like episode 23 or something, which is kind of cool. And it was funny as listening. we had our happy hour last night, which, by the way, I got to make sure you get on.
Yeah.
And Jeff hadn't realized, right? He jumped in and he was in Wistia and he said, holy shit, 130 something episodes of Expert Mentors. I was like, I know, isn't it crazy? So it'll be fun when, Coffee and Coaching is in the triple digits as well. So, hey, you guys are tuning in. Appreciate y'all. If you have any questions, anything that's on your mind, business, life, whatever you want to talk about, throw it in there and we'll chat. I know Joel and I want to kind of talk about what's happening in their market, what they're working. Obviously, the conversation across the country is listings. There are none. And so being able to, figure out what are some of the things that we need to be doing as agents, as business owners, as leaders to keep our mind on those opportunities. I will say though, Joel, I had a great conversation with Cindy down in Tyler yesterday, and, they're rocking, but the reason I think that, I was like, well, where is it coming from? What can you put your finger on? And what we uncovered was just the consistency in building their brand over the last couple years on social. And they do a ton of video content, consistent video, constantly, putting that out there. So that's working well. Yeah. What are you guys seeing? What obviously, you coach agents across the country as well. So you got a little ninja trick I know that you're doing that we talked about at boot camp. So I'd love for you to just kind of share with everybody what you guys are doing for listings, and then what doing some things with your clients.
Yeah, I heard. First, I want to touch on that whole video thing real quick because, somebody, and we know it works, but then you have to think of, okay, well, why is this working so good? And number one, it's because there is zero emotion based in this. And there's zero emotion when you're texting somebody. And sales is obviously based on emotion, but it's when people, get involved and they see you and they're using the other senses to make that decision, that emotional decision. That's where the emotion lives, is in the videos. So if anybody out there, if you're not doing any type of video or anything, shame on you. And once again, it goes back to, if you think that, if you're worried about how you look or whatever, then just understand that your shitty video is better than everybody else.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
But I'll tell you, man, for listings, so here's what I'm not banking on, but what I'm seeing some huge results in is that when the market crashed a handful of years ago, more than a handful of years ago, home evaluations were a big, big thing. And so why? Because everybody wanted to know what the market crash was doing to that home's value. Well, truthfully, now that this whole moratorium is going to be, lifted or whatever's happening with that coming up in the next few months, people want to know what COVID has done towards their home value. And it's all good news, but they still want to know. So we're seeing an influx in our home evaluation leads. But I think the key is, and number one, whoever has a CRM, 90% of CRMs have a home evaluation link to them. Everybody has their very own home evaluation link that'll drive people to your CRM. But obviously, we don't want to put that URL out there because it's some big, long, annoying URL. And what we're finding works is targeting specific areas.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is a couple different things. If you live in a very popular county, for instance, one of my clients lives in Rockport County, Atlanta, in the Atlanta area, and she bought rockporthomevalues.com. She put it up on a giant billboard. Here's the deal, and I'm not even kidding you. Rockporthomevalues.com was 9 cents a month. If you start looking at your cities, there could be you'd be amazed by what is still out there with URLs right now because they got away from that because they were getting rewarded for bad behavior.
Right.
Good people are buying, they're getting clients. They're like, I don't want to put any money into this, or the URLs lapsed. And you got cities that you can do, that city, clevelandhomevalue.com. But if you don't own buy, sell, love your city, three URLs, buycleveland.com, sellcleveland.com, and lovecleveland.com, you're going to be missing out because you could do some major stuff and they're dirt cheap. And once again, if the cities aren't available, go to a county, go to an area. Even back in the day when I was selling, I lived in a subdivision called Sandstone Ridge. Sandstone Ridge had 585 houses, and it had a 10% turnover rate. So I knew between 50 and 60 every year we're going to get listed. And I just wanted a chunk of that pie. So I went and bought sandstoneridgehomevalues.com, and I would just market to the entire subdivision. I'd drip on Facebook on them. I would send mailers, but people see a value to that.
Yeah, 100%.
It's exclusive to them. So if you want to target a specific subdivision or an area, I think that there's a lot of money to be made, but understand what the turnover rate is in those areas. Also, a pro tip, I guess, we should all know this, make sure you're doing this in a higher average sales price area to work smarter, not harder in that case.
Yep.
So the home evaluation things truly are starting to build up, and we're starting to push those like crazy. I mean, you've seen our market updates that we do as well. So like we talked about video, man, every single offer at the end of all of my market update videos is click the home evaluation link below. And it works. Yeah.
And, had Andrea on Expert Mentors yesterday, and we talked about, the consistency and always having that call to action. And no matter how soft it could be, right? Even like, what she was mentioning, even the soft call to action to go check out her blog for updates on kind of what's going on. Right. And so it's a great reminder. And it's just like I even said yesterday, I'm even guilty of it, of not always having some type of, hey, next step, telling people what to do. And that's the thing, right? They need to be told what to do, no matter how obvious it is. And so being able to have that, telling them where to go, and if it's congruent to what's important to them, right? This is always, you gotta really understand and get this. And this applies in anything, right? You always have to join the conversation that's going on in your prospective client's head. What problems are they what riddles are they trying to solve? What problems are they trying to solve? And then you're able to solve it. And the example that I like to give for how important this is, and this just so Joel, what you just shared, like we live in Salina, we're in Prosper ISD, but when somebody's talking about the housing and impact, that doesn't make me tune in. But right. When they say Light Farms, which is the subdivision, the community that we live in, I'm like, oh, okay, Light Farms, what's going on at Light Farms? Like, I don't care what goes on in Prosper ISD, Salina, Frisco. But when they say Light Farms, I'm like, maybe I need to pay attention. Is there something I'm missing? So you want to be really more intentional and more specific to who your audience is. And even more so, who's tuning in. This is the get, right, Joel? Is that you have to start with your target client in mind, right? That's where you have to start. You can't just I'm just going to shotgun this across. No, who is the actual audience out there that is likely to do business with you? What are their problems? How can I get their attention? How can I join the conversation? And how can I give them an offer? And if you just think through that way in all of your efforts, you're going to be so much more successful. And I love the home value, right? That's people want to know how much potential equity they're sitting on. Yep. And they're thinking about it. All right, there's a lot. I mean, you and we talk to agents all across the country every day.
Yep.
And that's the sellers. That's people. That's what they want to they want to know. And that's the problem I'm trying to solve. So that's a golden little nugget. If you guys don't own a specific area, URL, home value, those little nuggets, what Joel talked about, you need to get that. You need to get that set up. Joel, we had a question. Are you creating an ad in Facebook with URL and then driving leads to the CRM? Is that how you're setting it up?
Yeah. So our Facebook ads this is what we did in the past that worked probably better than any home evaluation ad that I've seen. So we got our photographer with his drone involved. It was all video. Okay, so we found that people like video right on Facebook. They watch more videos than they will even slideshows or an ad. So it was about a 15-second video. We went to the specific city or the zip code that we were targeting. And the video, the first part of the video usually was like the water tower, welcome to Strongsville. And the drone would fly. It would fly up the water tower and across for the first 5 seconds.
Is that like Dr. Pepper? What is that? What is Strongsville? Is that like?
That's just a local city.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like the Dr. Pepper. What's that? What's the name of the city? The Dr. Pepper?
Yeah. It might be Strongsville, actually. That's funny. Yeah, no, it's a local city right here, just south of Cleveland.
You got the Boz? Is the Boz driving around in his cop car?
I love it. And so it hits the water tower, and then it'll go to another, I don't know whether it's a staple of the city or just a well-known monument. It could be the welcome to city sign. It could be City Hall. But there's another pan that happens with the drone. And then the last one is basically the drone flying over top, looking down at roofs and houses in a subdivision. And every time it flies over, a little chat bubble comes up. 340, 350, 425, 295. And then it says, do you want to know your Strongsville's home value? Click this link.
That's gangsta.
That worked best. And then in Facebook, we targeted the zip code.
Yep. So
I don't know in areas, if this, I'm going to throw numbers out at you, but for us, we targeted $400 per zip code. And unless you want to create a lot of home evaluations, don't do that. Start small, to be honest with you. I don't want to scare anybody. And we would track, obviously, the amount of leads that came in based on it, the amount of conversions, but it was the lowest cost per lead. It ranged anywhere from $1.50 to sometimes upwards of $3 a lead in certain zip codes. But remember, you're targeting the zip code for that ideal client profile. I'm not sitting here going, another city is Parma. Mr. Dan Walters on our team always yells at me, why aren't we marketing in Parma? Because I can sell one house as opposed to three. I mean, I'd rather sell one house than marketing than three. But it's like you got to be strategic. And that's why if you look in the MLS in our area, our average sales price is about let's call it 150. It floats 147 to 153. Our average for our team is a 238. So it's because of our marketing efforts.
That's gone up. I remember, when we first started working together, it was in the 180s, something like that.
Yep. Yeah. It was actually, it was like 177. And so completely strategic. And hey, I'd rather make more money selling less houses all day long. But I like these because it's called being proactive. That's what's going to get listings in this market. And honestly, it's everybody realizes that, but no one's willing to do this stuff. But now this is almost before being pro, where this is somebody that raises their hand to think about calling a real estate agent. Because I want to, in a little bit, whenever you're ready, I want to talk about what the proper scripting looks like when you do have to call these And somebody wrote, "This is gangster." The scripting is gangster.
Roll with it.
It's an easy call. So it's right. I'll post it, but we have it in all the NAEA documents. It's the broad specific script. That's what works best. So what people have to realize is that when the consumer logs on, they say, "I want a home evaluation," and it gets sent over to them. Go look at what it is. It's a range, and they're truly genius on how they do it. It's a broad range.
Right.
So it could be something like 280 to 375. And so you call and you get to have the broad specifics. So what we found out that works is that it's not Joel from eXp Realty calling. Hey, it's Joel over at the home evaluation site. We saw that you went over and one was requesting your home evaluation for your home over on Main Street. And listen, the reason for my call, I know you received it, but it came across my desk and some red flags kind of came up because it was a very broad range. It was actually between 280 and 375. And the reason for my call is that I wanted to make sure that you were looking for that broad range, or were you looking for a more specific at maybe what your home would sell for in this current market? And then you start the dialogue.
Well, you start to find out their goal, right? Yeah.
What's
what
causing
they're trying to accomplish.
What's causing you to log on and request your home's value, right? It's all part of that. It's almost like it truly is a seller counseling interview, but tailored a little bit more towards home evaluation. Like, hey, what's causing you to log on? Like, what's going on in your life? And here's what everybody has to understand: this is truly a long-term play, because you get three, like anything, but more so with home evaluations, you get 3 clients that come out of it. And I always classify them in A, B, and C. You will find the right now clients that are like, are you bugging my house because we just talked about this 2 nights ago at dinner about selling our house? You will find that. But more importantly, what you're going to find is people that are going to say, you know what? Yeah, we would, but we're not until summer, or not until the end of the year, or not until next year. That's where the pipeline comes in.
Yeah.
It's like everybody who calls for sale by owners, They love, well, they don't love to call for sale by owners, but they forget about that pipeline follow-up. Instead of getting a no, and you say things like, "That's great. Well, how long are you going to give it a shot for sale by owner before you do hire that aggressive agent?" Get a date, get a commitment from them, because now I'm setting a follow-up. The money is strictly in the follow-ups with listings. Set your schedule up for success.
It is. It really is in the nurture process and building that pipeline. And those that have really solid processes around that in place, man, it's just, nurturing the database, squeezing the database, engaging in the database, adding value to the database, and continuing to make offers as that list grows, right? That's the whole goal, is to grow grow the audience, grow the list, make more offers. You got, get no's and get yeses, and don't try to overcomplicate it more than that. It's just math.
Yeah, and I truly just believe like this was our number one source of listing appointments back in the day. Bad market, okay? So there's my disclaimer, but I truly believe that people are super curious. I mean, it goes back to the Google Analytics that you've heard me bring up a bunch of times, like 16-year high for Google. The 2 top things that people were searching for when the pandemic happened was sell my home fast, sell my home for cash. So the cash now offers, which we talk about, I think the home evaluation is when I say less aggressive, it's not less aggressive for us, because I don't like an agent being less aggressive. It's less aggressive for the consumer to fill that out. They would rather fill out something online, amazingly. And, somebody asked here, how do you attract the consumer to your home evaluation? I'm sorry, when you attract them, how do you sync them to your CRM? The CRMs, for the most part, they're synced right away. So if you ever go onto your main page, let's just say KV Core, for instance, you have a home evaluation button at the top. You can click on that or look in your profile, and it'll give you your very own home evaluation link. And then you just copy that, and you have your URL, or you have that forwarding to your URL, or vice versa. So when someone says, FriscoHomeValues.com, and they go to that, it's redirecting to your home evaluation page. When they fill it out, it goes automatically in as a lead, as a home evaluation lead to your CRM.
Yep.
There are a couple platforms out there. If you don't have a CRM, the only one that I really have had experience with, Trisha Turner uses this, and she kills it. It's called Listing to Leads. It's either listing to the number 2 leads or listings2leads.com. And it's a home evaluation platform that you can specifically put something in there and it'll generate leads for it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, some of the things, that we're seeing, you're seeing, what's the offer that is resonating with people in the marketplace, right? The real sellers. And it's the riddle. We keep coming back, cash offer, home value. It still is has to leading. And they know they're going to get offers. You can get them an offer, less hassle, traffic through the door, just what is that? And I don't think it's just one. I think it's multiple that you want to be testing and having as many offers flying as you can. Now on the buy side, the one thing, what are you seeing? What are you guys seeing that's working to attract? And honestly, I had Nick Good, chatted with Nick here in Dallas.
Yeah.
He's like, man, he goes, we ain't doing nothing for buyers. He said, we're putting all of our dollars towards sellers. Every buyer that comes in, we're treating them like a seller until they're not. And it's just having that type of mentality. And I love it. I love the seller mentality. We're a listing centric organization. All we focus on is listings. And that was another big get with Cindy. We made that shift a couple of years ago. So a couple of things happened a couple of years ago with her is that we made the move of, you've got to become, she's like, we're like, you got to become a marketing agency, right? She had like 1 or 2 marketing people at the time. I think she has 5 now, 5 or 6. She's like, she has an marketing agency that just happens to sell real estate. And they're about half the size of you guys right now. And they're just, listing centric organization. They're a marketing agency. They happen to sell real estate. They cater to the agents, and it's all about getting listings. And, made that move strategically 2 years ago. And I think that's the other thing too. It's a lot of these moves, there's a cash conversion cycle on everything that we do, right? Anytime we make an investment in a human resource or a marketing effort, there's a cash conversion before you start to see the return. And I think that's where folks have to be mindful of. What are some short-term things that you guys are doing? And are you having any success on the, anything with the lowest hanging fruit?
Yeah. So we're always all about shaking the trees. So as far as listings go, there's everybody, every agent has probably about 5 avenues that they could be getting listings from that are very easy for very little, if not no money at all. And so as far as the low-hanging fruit, man, we have all of our agents going through their bucket of leads, including our Shark Tank, and hitting them with the updating your data talk. It goes back to, you'll hear me say this all the time, don't introduce yourself as a real estate agent unless you're calling sellers. Then always introduce yourself as a real estate agent, because if you ever want to lose rapport with a seller, don't introduce yourself. But so we always say, hey, this is Joel from where the lead came in. Hey, this is Joel. Click the link on Facebook regarding over to 3 Street, or this is Joel with Zillow. This is Joel with the home search site. But we're doing the updating the data script, and here's what works. You want to talk about video? Imagine everybody out there that has leads. You shoot this video. Hey, this is Joel over at the home search site. And listen, I saw that, you registered this past year. You've been doing some home search. Wasn't able to connect with you. And my job as we come into the new year is to just make sure that your data and your profile is up to date. And so just want to see if you are still in the market to purchase or to sell your home this coming year. If you don't mind, reply to this text. And I'd love to at least get you some homes, or data that you're looking for. That fuels a shitload of responses. I'm not even lying about these numbers. It looked like so we were kind of all over the place, but on average it was about a 20% response rate to that. And then the 20%, so 300 was equaling about 60 responses. 60 responses, they were polling about another 10%. 10% of nurtures and 10% of right now people. Like, you can't argue those numbers. Like truthfully, like your success, everybody's success on here, it lives in your bucket of leads that you already have. It's amazing to me. And you, me, Wally, I was joking with the other day. Like there are no such thing as shitty leads. It's shitty effort or shitty messaging or shitty skills that go behind it. And so, truthfully, if everybody on here just shift trees to what they have at their fingertips right now, we would all be laughing driving to the bank, and I'll drive them there.
Man, I mean, we did the study in 2016, right out of our call center. I mean, we left $1.8 million on the table that year. Our cut, company dollar. That was after paying splits, right? 1.8 million is what we left on the table. And we verified that through data scrape and people that we had in there that sold. Yeah. And, I mean, that's just like one of the most, painful. We've learned a lot of lessons. That one was costly. And it was just because we didn't have a good nurture follow-up process in place. We were too busy trying to, to see if we could, get the now business by doing the approach that we were going. So, man, yeah, strong nurture follow-up process, I think, is key. Continuing to add value, continuing to, deliver items of value in a way that is helping, your potential, let's just say potential clients solve whatever problem or their thought or question that they have. I've talked about this quite a bit. And we had one of our clients, she turned me on to They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. And, Marcus was on Nick Nanton had Marcus on his show at the beginning of December. And it's fascinating to go back in. I've talked about this a couple of times and it's worth repeating, is that in They Ask You Answer, especially the revised and updated version, if you're going to grab a copy of it, dive into that one. And he talks about in the book, he says 70% of consumers have already done their due diligence and shopped you and done their research on you and your company and what you do. 70% before they have a conversation with you. He said 10 years ago, it was about 40%. And I think the book, the updated version came out maybe late 19, early 20, somewhere in there, the revised and updated. Well, when he was on Nick's podcast in the beginning of December, he shared that statistic, but he said it's up to 80%. He said 80% of consumers. Now he says it's B2B or whatever it was, but and he kind of, him and Nick chatted about it a little bit, and it's it's P2P or H to H, whatever, right? Human to human, people to people, and having that type of understanding. But he says it's 80% of consumers are shopping, doing their due diligence online before they are willing to even have a conversation with you. And man, so this is fascinating, and so Holly wants these. She's like, hey, there's one nice thing that because I'll just surprise and delight, and she'll just whatever. But she's like, hey, there's these one nice thing that I really want. If you're going to give me anything nice, right? And I said, okay, cool. And so she sends me the link. You can't buy it online. Okay. So I'm delayed, and I'm like, this is a pain in the ass, right? So I call the 800 number, and I am on hold for 15 minutes before they pick up the phone. And then, it's snooty, very uppity brand. And I was like, this is a pain in the ass, right? I said, the buying process is a pain in the ass with you guys. They don't care, right? Their brand is so prestigious. They don't care. And then she goes on to tell me that, well, it's got this ridiculously uppity voice, and the whole, I'm going to send you just to have you listen to the whole music. And every piece is handcrafted. So therefore we would not be able to have a buy option on our website for this product, because you have to go in store. Cause I was like, you meaning to tell me that I don't care if I have to wait 3 months? You meaning to tell me that I just can't click a button and buy on this site for this? Like, you kidding me? I'm like, you understand how much of a hassle it is, right? So not available. Cool. Hung up. I started researching other brands, find something else, right? And it's just like, man, if we're not, one, trying to make it as easy and convenient. This is why I love, we've got clients that are doing virtual. They're still calling them CMAs.
Yeah.
That's one approach that we've got a client that, just say, hey, no problem. Guess what? We'll just set it up. We'll do a virtual walkthrough. We'll sit down, talk about some questions. We'll talk about the range and the goals of what you're trying to accomplish. Does 6 o'clock this evening or, 4 o'clock tomorrow work best for you? And really going that route and having a lot of success, making it easy, right? Not even have to get in the house. It's just like, hey, just walk around. Show me the house, get some gauge, talk about what your goals are, and we can make that.
People love that. We talked about that a little bit. Nick Krem brought that up. It's like, yeah, I love the CHSA, CHBA, but there's that third step. It's a VHBA and a VHSA, right?
Yeah.
The virtual, man, like
that's it, man.
The cash now offers that we're doing, because I was the one beta testing them, I haven't been through one damn door. That's the goal. I've literally done all of the listing presentations over Zoom, and people love it. Like, yep. It's that next thing. I just had a client in Hilton Head, Kasha. She did a virtual listing appointment. Her competition was doing an appointment over the phone because these were absentee owners. She's like, no, we're jumping on a Zoom, pulls up the placemat and does it right in front of them. She gets the job of a multi-million-dollar house or over $1 million house because of the ease, the efficiency. People love it.
You know what, man? It's people's ability, their attention span is so short. It's getting shorter and shorter and shorter, as we all know. And just so many things grabbing our attention that if you can't make it convenient and go now with it, then there's a chance that you're going to lose that opportunity. And the same agent, right? That I love to share this because she during the whole COVID lockdown, you know how many homes she's been in?
Oh, you told me this. This is crazy.
So just in the last 6 months, she's a solo agent, mind you. She has a virtual TC. She has a couple agents that she'll refer to help go do showings and things. She's in the last 6 months, her personally, just her, closed 45 deals in the last 6 months. You know how many of those homes in the last 6 months that she's been in?
Tell them.
One.
Yeah.
One. And it was vacant. She just had to go through there for the seller. The seller was gone. So, like, it's possible. You've got to make it convenient. There's still principles that apply, right?
Yeah.
We still have the process, right? You still got to connect, build rapport. You still got to ask the tough questions. You got to go, hey, here's the data. And then you got to lay out, hey, these are the principles. These are the bullet points. These are the things that we have to understand that, based upon your goal of selling at the top of the market, we've got to proactively manage these variables in a way that's going to allow us to get to the top of the point. The thing with it is, guys, is that if you try to skip these steps and you may have some success because the market is ridiculous as ridiculous as I've ever seen, you're going to build bad habits and you're going to be rewarded for bad behavior. And when things start to, we see a tick in inventory and we get back to hopefully a little more of a balance, your skill set's not going to be there. And, I love the whatever, if it's the Navy SEAL, wherever it came from, is that, you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the depth of your training. And James Clear talks about it in Atomic Habits, is that same way, right? Your business doesn't rise up at the time, it rests on the strength of your systems and your processes. And so many agents, think that they've got it figured out and they're just skipping steps.
Yeah.
and it's going to come back and get you. So stay disciplined, stay consistent, trust the process. And no matter what happens, when the market does do whatever it's going to do, you're in a great spot because you have the skill set, you have the systems, you have the processes, you have the foundation that's going to allow you to thrive in any conditions.
Well, and you brought it up about 10 minutes ago. Like, it boils down to congratulations, you're generating some leads for yourself. But, we need to
what?
Right. Now what? Right. The hard work comes in, the uncomfortableness. Everybody hates that first initial picking up the phone, but it's just that the necessity. And you always bear fruits from prospecting, from calling leads, especially registration leads like that. So, then comes the follow-up. You got to have, you said it perfectly. You have to have something of value. If you're just calling hey, buddy, just checking in. Don't just check in. Every other agent's checking in with them. And that's why they're not answering. But if you get something of value and it's behavioral, right? Like if your responses to them are, hey, someone's looking to buy and they say that they're looking to buy in the summer, and you notice that they went on your site and clicked on the house 4 times, I'm gonna shoot them a text. Hey, what's up, bro? Just making sure that I want to see. I saw you clicked on that house on Main Street. When do you want to go take a look? Like, be a human. Like, we're not robots out there, and so behavioral stuff wins every time. But man, it is the key is the follow up. And for sellers, what really is working is that when you set that tone, as experts, we use terms like, so here's what happens next. And I'm going to lay out the ground rules. Like I'm running this relationship. And so here's what happens next. I'm going to reach out to you guys every 4 weeks. If they're a long-term seller, by the way, I'm going to reach out to you every 4 weeks. And just want to make sure a couple things. Want to update you on the homes in your neighborhood that have came on the market and have sold. And I also want to make sure your situation is still the same. So the only rule that I have is that you just respond to me. I just want to make sure that open line of communication is there. And I would just want to have a 2-minute conversation with you. I'll keep it really quick, and then we'll move on. And the reason is because I shouldn't say every, I throw that word around a lot. A lot of agents will say to me, if somebody comes to us right now and says, I want to sell in August after my kids graduate high school and I have the graduation party, if COVID allows for it, I'm going to sell in August. When do you follow up with them? And the answer is consistently, constantly, because truthfully, I get 2 common answers. It's, halfway. I'll follow up with them in May, or I'll follow up with them right before August. Nope. What if their situation changes?
That's right.
What if they got an inheritance and it expedited things? You lose. The agent that gets the job is the agent that talks to them last. So I would rather be the one to call them every month and give them something of value, like, hey, here are these homes that are going to be coming on the market, or this one flew off the market. And then now when their situation changes, guess who's top of mind? It's me.
What we found in that study in 16, right? So keep in mind, we did 2.2 in revenue. We left 1.8 on the table just out of our database. And what we found is that out of those people that said that they were going to do something in the next 12 months, less than 4 months is when they made the move on average. Less than 4 months. And that was somebody that was 6 to 12 months saying they were going to make a move. On average, they moved in less than 4. So if you're not staying consistent, you're not staying on there, things can change, man. Right. Just look how fast things changed last year. And conditions changed, right? Circumstance drives behavior. Somebody's circumstance can change overnight, which is going to change their behavior, right? It's going to change their thinking. It's going to change the way they feel about it. It's going to change the way they, their action. And then it's ultimately obviously going to change their result. So it's like what Joel's saying, man, if you have any of those type of, if you don't have a strong nurture follow-up process into your database and you're doing well, generating opportunities, generating leads, you gotta lean in there, right? That might be the process that you focus on this quarter.
Well, so it sounds overwhelming too. Like how, John, I don't have the time to follow up with all of these nurtures that I just created. Well, let's get real. Like you said, so imagine if we have 120 people to follow up with a month.
Right.
That's 4 a day.
Right.
I'll have 2-minute conversations, shoot a 2-minute text over to them a day. That's the challenge, is that we make it complex in our minds. And then when we make it complex in our minds, we make excuses on why we're not going to accomplish it. And when you make up excuses on why not to follow up with somebody, you might as well just go light cash on fire in a garbage can.
100%. I think the thing there is, what else is in your calendar that's not, that's a more of a priority than this. I think that's where you got to start. And, where are you? Well, the thing is that it goes 168. We all have the same time every week. And, you back out, let's just say we got 100 hours, right? After sleep and everything else, and whatever you're going to work, say it's 50 hours. Well, 70% of that working time better be on your high leveraged activities. In this business, it's marketing, branding, lead gen, lead conversion, pitching your offer, negotiating deals. And, if you're working buyers, showing houses, there's only 5 things that really fall into that bucket. And if you're not spending 70% of your time on those activities, your time allocation is off. And so the big thing that factors into the equation is the force of distraction. And the force of distraction consumes on average 20 to 30 hours a week. So if that's true, and you're not doing things to protect and fight that off, and really being intentional and knowing what your priorities are, knowing what the goal is, what are the activities, it's aligned in the calendar, you've got buffers to eliminate those distractions, where is that time going to come from? And for most, it comes from outside of it takes away from the high lifetime value activities, right? It takes away from working out, spending time with family, the deepening of relationships, right? Yeah. It takes away from those things. And then maybe that goes to shit. And so now you're focused on making that better. And then the distraction, you don't solve the distraction problem. And now it takes away from your business. So when you said you were going to work 50 hours, you actually only worked, 25 to 30, because distraction was, you allowed it to take you, you weren't present, you weren't engaged, you weren't focused. So to me, that's the real issue. And so what are you doing to make sure that, your priorities are in alignment, your calendar's dialed in, and you're executing on what you need to do to get the results that you want? And that's the truth. Instead of saying, I ain't got time to do it. Well, let's look at where and how you're allocating your time. Yeah.
And one thing that you and John Cheplack has beat into my skull is that you're committed. And if you didn't hold your commitment, what got in the way?
Yep.
And then on top of that is, where else in your life is this showing up?
That's right.
So you're right.
How we do anything is how we do everything. Where else is it showing up?
Yep.
Oh, shizzle.
There's a lot of money left out there, I'll tell you.
Yes, sir.
Funny thing, how many calls do you get, or and I get a lot on, I can't believe the seller listed with another agent.
What could you have done differently?
Well, yeah, and I'm sorry, me, I'm just blunt. It's your damn fault.
That's right.
Like,
100%.
There's some things that are maybe out of our control, but man, if we could seriously look in the mirror, which not a lot of people can, saying, I do everything in my power to follow up and convert this person and give them the highest level of client experience, the answer is no on a lot of occasions, which is sad.
100%. 100%. Good stuff, brother. I appreciate you jumping in. That Cleveland internet held up for us.
Yeah, see that, man? Maybe it's the second wireless, whatever you call those things. Thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate you.
Man, thank you. Appreciate you guys. If you want to catch previous episodes of Coffee and Coaching, head over to YouTube channel. I think is probably the best. John Kitchens 3. Hit that subscribe button. That helps Mr. Zane out with his allowance, since he runs my YouTube channel. So hook him up, man. If you guys aren't subscribed to the YouTube channel, run over and subscribe. Make Zane happy, and look forward to catching you guys on the next episode. Thanks, brother.
Later, guys.